Second.
All
right, welcome everybody. This is the Maximum One Greater Atlanta Woodstock sales meeting on Tuesday, June 16th. And just want to welcome everybody and excited to hear what the latest and greatest is. So Karlene, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I know that we've all missed seeing each other. Hopefully we're talking about having a meeting in August. I think a lot of you know that we normally don't have a meeting in July because we have so many people that are on vacation and so much going on. So we're hoping to have a in-house meeting in August. That's our plan. You know, I always try to give everybody a little tidbit. And this is something that I ran across and it's really for the 5 rules to be happy as we grow older, okay? So this is 5 rules. The first rule is to free your heart from hatred. And that is very appropriate right now with what all is going on. I don't know if y'all remember, in our last meeting, I had said that one of the things that was recommended was to stop watching the news because of COVID-19. Well, now we need to quit watching the news because of what's going on with the unfortunate death that happened recently of George Floyd. So, but number 1, free your heart from hatred. Number 2, free your mind from worries. Number 3, live simply. Number 4, give more. And number 5, expect less and enjoy every moment. And we have to consider, the person that I got this from is we have to consider as we grow older that life is like a bank account and you withdraw from it what you put in. So just make sure that you deposit lots of happiness in your bank of memories. And I just want to thank everyone that has deposited into my bank of memories over the years that I've been here with Maximum One. And I just look forward to us all depositing more and being able to share and withdraw goodness and love and mercy and joy. Okay, so that's my 5 things for today for me. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back to you, Dana. I don't know who's next. Did she hear?
All right. Christina, why don't we go to you? Introduce yourself and tell us what is going on with the latest and greatest in the world of real estate closings.
Hi, Christina Adams with Hartman Law. And really, things are cooking along like we normally do here in summertime. We're keeping real busy. The latest and greatest is we were waiting to see if video closings would continue. The order expired June 12th, and we didn't know if it would be renewed. And on June 12th, they renewed the order, extending the ability to do video closings. So we can still do that through July, I believe it's through July 12th. So that continues to be an option if you have any clients who are in Georgia but are unable to come to closing or do a power of attorney. We do have that option to do video closings. If they're out of state, that's still not an option unless they can be with a notary physically present with them in their own state. So, but other than that, I don't have much new to report, which I think is really a good thing, that things are still busy and moving along. Interest rates are good, so we're still seeing refinancing. That slowed down a little bit, and purchases are up. So we're loving summer.
And Christina, just to clarify, those video closings still are only with lender approval, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, the lender has to approve of it, and some lenders are allowing it. There are others who are not, and understandably, I think there is some concern about, for a lender who approves a video closing and then has to foreclose in the future, there may be some challenges they have to deal with to the video closing. So presumably that would be upheld, but a borrower who's looking to get out of a foreclosure might use it as an excuse to try and litigate. So if you have a lender who's saying, no, we won't do it, I can understand why they don't want to, but I also think, you know, we work with a lot of great lenders who are willing to take that chance to make their deals go through.
And are the title companies that you represent having any issues or any exceptions to titles with any of the video closings or anything that has gone on?
No, we haven't had any exceptions. All our title insurance companies are willing to insure these closings. They have some forms we have to get signed, and we have to do some verifications. Each company has their own separate forms and requirements, but for the most part, it's a matter of having a couple forms of ID and just signing some documents, certifying some information. But they've been very good about letting us do the video closings and some other things that when we were having trouble getting into courthouses to check records, you know, normally we can't rely on digital records for our title examinations, and they made an exception that as long as the examiner could go back far enough in the digital records that they would agree to insure with that. There were people who we couldn't go far enough back with digital records in order to insure. The title insurance companies would then only allow us to insure if that seller had an owner's title insurance policy. So we never would have anticipated that as a selling point for title insurance, but now if people ask why title insurance, you can say, well, if there's ever a pandemic and they can't check the title records back far enough, this might be what gets your property insured.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Christina. We appreciate all of the service that you give to all of our agents and our industry as a whole. And we just know Hartman Law Firm is very real estate agent friendly. And also, if any of you guys ever have any questions, just please contact Christina. Even if for whatever reason you don't have your closing schedule there, Christina and Andy are so wonderful with their knowledge and their wisdom and their experience, and they will help guide you through a potential situation. So thank you guys so much for being affiliated with the Maximum One Woodstock office, and we just really enjoy the partnership and the camaraderie and the just professional relationship. So thank you so much.
Hey,
Thank you.
Christina, is there any word on when your candy station may reopen?
So we have started reopening the candy. We're still not doing the one where you select your own, but the candy bars are out. So stop on by if you want some candy.
Thanks.
Christina,
Yes?
are the courthouses open?
Partially, and I think there are some variations county to county. So I don't know the specifics, but the order from the Supreme Court that came down last week did set some guidelines for reopening and having trials again. So I would say if you're going to the courthouse records room, call first. Make sure that they are open, because they do think they can shut down if they have someone who's tested positive in their courthouse, in their records room. So you need to check before you go so you don't waste a trip.
Well, what are landlords doing now?
So evictions are starting, and they're but not if your property has a federally insured mortgage. So you still can't do evictions if the landlord has a federally insured mortgage. But landlords who own their buildings or who have other conventional financing on their buildings can start doing evictions. There's going to be a major backlog. There are some affidavits they have to sign, some new forms that have to be presented to the court to certify that you don't have a federally backed mortgage. But as far as I know, those those are the only real changes. I think it's just a matter of, again, county by county, each court will be setting its own rules for how the appearances happen. But at least some of that backlog hopefully will start getting worked through the courts.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
There are, the civil courts have started trials and hearings as of this week, like Christina said, from an order from the Georgia Supreme Court. So the courts are back open. And with respect to evictions, one of the issues in the past few months, Reed, was that notice couldn't be served. So you could still file a writ of dispossessory because the courthouses were still open electronically and digitally, but that notice couldn't be served. And since notice couldn't be served, the process got halted until the notice was served. And just as a commercial, I just recorded a video this morning on notice and communication in a contract. So please be on the lookout for that in this coming Sunday's Sunday newsletter email this week at Maximum One. It's all about notice and communication within the context of a contract.
Okay, great.
All right, John and Christina Bohannon, let's hear what is going on with, well, before we go on to that, I just want to say, well, I'll reserve my comments till after you're done.
Okay. So welcome everybody. I'm John, this is my wife, Christina. We have just a few highlights that I think are very, very encouraging. First of all, we're seeing the buying market actually is now as busy as the refinance market has been. Christina, I don't know if you have seen that, starting to happen at your office, but during the pandemic, we were like 70% refi, 30% purchase. Now it's clearly 50-50 and the momentum is building towards the purchases, and the refis haven't slowed down. It's just the purchases have gained that much ground. So I'm super excited about that. We still have a housing shortage. So we're still seeing a lot of multiple offers. A ton of, coming soons are getting sold before they hit the market. Just seeing a lot of things that are, the sign of a healthy real estate market. So we're really excited about that. Movement has done several things to help real estate agents get their offers accepted. And I just wanted to share those with you because nowadays you need every advantage along with the love letter and whatever else you're going to do to try to get your offer in and accepted. And here's a couple things that can really help. So now we're not going to sell our loans. We're going to service all of our loans. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to, if the buyer qualifies, which again, I'm really caveating this on a pre-qualified, pre-approved buyer, we can allow them to close on the new property and still retain their existing property. And after they sell that existing property, they can put their additional down payment down that they get from their equity on the sale of that home. And what we'll do at that point is we'll recast their loan, meaning we'll re-amortize it based on that bigger down payment and make their new monthly payment equal to what it would have been if they were able to do like a back-to-back closing. So that's a really powerful tool for people that are really well qualified that, don't want to, sell their house at a fire sale. It's really helpful to be able to write. It's kind of like a bridge loan if you think about it that way. It's not a bridge loan, but it lets somebody buy without selling. So that's a really neat thing. A couple other things that happened with us starting to service our loans is we'll do loans now down to a 620 credit score. And that's all loans, conventional, FHA, VA, USDA. So that's really a cool thing. Also, we are closing loans that are rescue loans. Let's say you have a buyer that has a deal with another lender and you write up the contract and they won't let you, encourage them to use us. And all of a sudden they find out, oh, well, their lender can't close in time. We're getting anywhere between 1 or 2 of those a month just from me telling people because other banks are prioritizing their refinance business and they're making the purchases take longer to close than what you guys wanted to close.
Because they want to service their current customers.
They're trying to service,
like,
exactly,
yeah,
their existing book of business and new people are, kind of pushed to the side a little bit from a timeline standpoint. So we'll close a rescue loan in 21 days. So that's a really neat thing to be able to keep your contract on time for closing. We'll prioritize that one to make sure that you don't have to move a closing date and mess up your closing. So that's neat. Otherwise, our regular contracts, we're getting closed anywhere from 25 to 30 days. And that's even FHA. The only exception to that would be USDA, because they take about 40 days to close. And I think we close maybe 1 or 2 a year of those. But that's, our timelines are really good. I wanted to share an email with you guys. I'm gonna protect the agent who wrote it, but this is what she wrote to me. She said, "Woohoo, we found her perfect home. There were 5 offers on the home and 53 showings. It was listed yesterday." And I asked her, I said, "Well, what was your recipe for getting your offer accepted?" And she said, "Well, I really sold them on a 10-day financing, which we'd already approved the buyer once before. So she was able to do a 10-day financing and a 14-day appraisal and a 30-day closing date. And she was able to beat out the 5 other offers, and she wasn't even the highest offer. She just had the best terms on the financing and on the closing date." So that's a really important way where you can help get your offer accepted without having your buyer overpay. So I was really excited about that. That just happened last week. And, you know, this buyer had actually been furloughed. It's not somebody that you would think of as like a super strong buyer. She'd been furloughed, but we approved her before she was furloughed, and we just needed her to come back to work and show us some pay stubs, and she was able to do that. So we'll be closing that loan in about 2 weeks. So that's a little bit on just the highest and best stuff. A couple of things that are, you know, important to know: our underwriting timelines are 1.5 days from when we submit it to when we get the first decision on the loan. And then appraisals are taking about 7 business days for everything except VA. VA takes about 8 days. VA can do a drive-by appraisal if that's something that's important to the seller of the property. And then we can usually get an appraisal waiver, just a no appraisal needed at all on a conventional, and if the buyer's putting somewhere between 15 to 25% down, values are just that strong. So on the homes, so that's it's really, really encouraging to see. We also got some really good news last week where there was a really overestimated amount of unemployment. There was supposed to be 7 million new unemployment claims. There were actually 2 million new jobs that were created. So that was a 9 million number miss on the unemployment expectations. So that's really good for the economy. It's really good for housing. It's really good for people's consumer confidence. So that's a really good thing. Also, the Federal Reserve announced last week that they don't foresee increasing interest rates until sometime 2 years from now. They don't expect to do it anytime this year or anytime next year, but probably in 2022 is when they're going to start looking at that. That's really important. Also, the Federal Reserve is right now buying, they're buying more loans from banks than they bought during the housing crash, trying to keep the interest rates low. It's somewhere between $3 billion to $4 billion a day that they're buying of mortgages. So because of all of those things, even though, you know, we're starting to get some good news on the economy, it's not going to make the interest rates go up. So if you know people that are kind of sitting on the fence saying, I'm waiting for interest rates to go down some more, they're probably not, because like this is like a massive pressure already that's pushed them here. And what the Fed is doing at this point is they're just going to keep them in this range. They're not going to improve them beyond where they're at. Maybe a slight improvement, but nothing major. And, you know, it's also a great time to buy a house because home prices are going up and homes are being sold. Even, I mean, like we've seen houses in the, you know, high 500s to 700s, you know, 5-7 days on the market. It's just amazing. So those are kind of the overall highlights. I have one last point to make, and this would be something that would be good when you're talking to your customers, when you're calling through your database, just checking in with them. It'd be really good to talk to them about refinancing, even if they got their loan up to just a year ago. Because here's one very little known fact. If they switch from a 30-year fixed to a 20-year fixed, the interest rate is literally about the same. I should say this, the interest rates on a 30-year and a 20-year fix are about the same. So you would think the interest paid would be about the same, but it's not. The interest paid on a 20-year fix is literally 50% less than it is on a 30-year fixed. So essentially what happens is the homeowner skips from the first year to the 10th year, and they start making an amortized payment starting as if they'd already owned the home for 10 years. And that's how they get to skip half the interest. So I'd encourage you guys, when you're talking to your clients, even if they're like, no, we're going to stay here for several more years, they can advance their amortization a lot faster and save a lot of money if they'll consider a 20-year loan. And the savings on the interest rate from even a year ago till now, most people might have to pay a couple $100 more a month. If they can afford it, it's a really smart thing to do. So that's pretty much the highlights of what I had to talk about. Were there any questions? I didn't have my question chat opened up.
I'm sorry, John. What is the interest rate right now? And I know it also depends on, you know, credit score and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
Individual, but kind of like where, like say from when you said that y'all can do like 620, like what would that interest rate be?
Yeah.
So
yeah, a 620 is not going to be a feel-good interest rate.
Right.
You're going to be somewhere in the high 3s to maybe even low 4s for a 620, because it's like, that's like a D-, like you're just barely getting credit for taking the class, right?
I remember when
you
we
might
were
not
happy
even
when there
get
was a
credit in
9%
some places.
interest rate when it was 18.
Special price for you. But yeah, it'd be somewhere in the, and it would also depend on the amount of their down payment. But you know, for people that have a 700 and, you know, credit score and up, you're looking at interest rates of at maybe 3%. They're going to range from like 3% to maybe 3.1, all the way down to 2.8 on a 30-year fixed. So that's the range depending on the loan type and how much they're putting down. I've had a guy that just bought some of these listing in the office. He was putting 5% down. He got a 2.99 interest rate. So, and that was just 2-3 days ago. And he paid a few $100s for that. So it's really available without doing a huge down payment. Like I said, he only put 5% down. So that's kind of the range on that. The 20-year interest rates are about the same as that. The 15-year interest rates are about 0.5% lower than what it would be on the 30-year.
So someone with like a 660 interest rate, or excuse me, 660 credit score, that would be somewhere in the high 3s?
Probably a 660. No, it would be in the mid 3s.
In the mid 3s.
Yeah, it should be in the mid 3s.
That still seems so lovely.
Yeah, it really, I mean, it really is nice. It really is nice. This time a year ago, we were in the high 3s, like 3.8, you know, 3.9, all that. So
John,
we're a full 1% lower.
I mean, I have 4.25 right now, and I thought that was amazing when I got it.
I'm
Yeah.
very flat, Kim. I'm very
Oh, right?
John and Christina, like it used to be, there used to be a rule of thumb that, for example, a 1% difference in interest rate equated to $20 a month difference in monthly payment. Do you have any figures like that? Like for 0.1% or even 0.5%, what that is in terms of monthly payment? And I know there's other factors like the payment type of loan, but
yeah.
And I don't know if that was way back when I was practicing 25 years ago, but it was really a lot easier for an agent, not being the mortgage expert, to sort of have that conversation with the client.
Yes, and there's I think a really great tool that lets you customize the answer to that, because it can vary based on if you're going from FHA to conventional, or if you're going from like a 30-year fixed to a 20-year fixed, because there's a lot of variables besides just what the interest rate is. So I have a calculator app that if somebody wants to get it, if you will just text me back on my cell phone, I will text you the smartphone app, and then it will let you go in and totally customize the loan amount, the loan program, and the interest rate, so you can kind of see them side by side. Because it can vary by as little as like $10 or $20 a month if it's a small loan, where it's conventional to conventional. But if you're going from FHA to conventional, you automatically are going to save the mortgage insurance. And most houses in Atlanta, are $200,000 and up. So you're talking about saving $150 to $180 a month just on mortgage insurance, plus the savings on the interest rate could be another, $100 or $150. So is that, I don't want to just kind of pigeonhole an answer on just it's this amount for this amount, but that calculator will calculate it for you super easy.
Because we have someone now who's actually getting about $45,000 cash out, and his payment is the exact same as what he already had, but he's getting all that cash out of his house to remodel his house. So, there's cool things you can do.
Yeah.
Like he's thinking of it like, I want cheap cash out and I'm comfortable paying this payment. Well, he can get it out of his house and, redo his basement.
Hey, John, the buyer that you said you got the loan and they were furloughed.
Right.
Were they still anticipating employment with the same company? I mean, how did that affect the loan application?
So she had to wait until she was back to work and had gotten 2 pay stubs for us to see that she was earning the same money that she was earning before. So somebody that is presently furloughed cannot get a mortgage. It's just only once they've returned to work and back to their normal pay structure and their normal hours worked to be able to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Just a couple comments and then we'll go to Karie Smith. We do not anticipate, and John and Christina, you can correct me on this, but generally speaking, from what I understand, we do not anticipate this market, this economy is not an organic economy. And we're seeing that with more and more states opening up, the unemployment went drastically down, the stock market went drastically up. And my point is, with respect to real estate, is I don't believe we anticipate a slew of foreclosures and short sales like we saw back in 2008, 2009. That being said, however, don't be fooled, because in the next 2 months, you will see a ton of foreclosures, but that is a false trend. It's not really a trend. It's the fact that the courts have been closed. And as Christina, I see Christina shaking her head. Now that they're open, the courts are now processing the foreclosures that were in the works January, February, March. So we are going to see a concentrated number of foreclosures right now, but that is not a future trend that we will see throughout the rest of the year. That's just the court systems catching up with things that had already been in process. Same thing with evictions and so forth and so on. The other thing that I want to say, and I think I'm going to do a video on this, is I'm getting, I am fielding an inordinate number of calls from the public regarding agents. And it is a lack of understanding on how fast our market is moving. And this always happens in a fast market, but like John said, there is a dearth of inventory right now. So there are multiple offers and so forth and so on. And the same things that we always see in a fast market, the internet is not on time with the actual inventory supply. So the public looks on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin, all the online things, and they see houses for sale. They go to their agent, you guys, and y'all tell them there's nothing that's active, that's already under contract, that's under contract. And there's a tendency for the public to believe the internet and think that you just don't want to take them out in your car and show them. So that being said, number one, when you are working with buyers, please set their expectations regarding the updatedness, if that's a word, of what they're seeing online versus your access to real live MLS real-time data. The second thing is you might have buyers that will come to you because for whatever reason they've lost the relationship with their previous buyer and broker. If they come to you and you've got to ask them if they're working with anybody. If they say, yes, I fired them, we don't know what that means. And license law says, this is what I'm going to do the video on, but license law says that if you have reason to believe that a buyer, or seller for that matter, but sellers are easier to check out with the MLS listings. But if you as an agent have reason to believe that a buyer has signed a buyer brokerage agreement with another broker, before working with that buyer, you must contact their former broker to ensure that in fact there is no more relationship with that broker. So that not only is license law, that is a maximum one policy. And if the buyer won't give you the name and contact information of their former broker, then there is a form that we have that the buyer signs saying they have in fact terminated their agreement and they don't owe anything financially to the other broker. All of that information is in the policy manual, and those forms are in the reference section of Paperless Pipeline. And the reason it's a license law violation is because by working with them, you could incur additional costs that they would owe to a former broker. So just want to also let you know along those lines that if you are working with a buyer and they no longer want to work with you or with the brokerage, you can be fired. The public can unilaterally terminate a brokerage agreement. But if they unilaterally terminate, they are in default. So it has to be a mutual termination for them to not be in default. And in the GAR contract forms, there is a unilateral notice of termination of the brokerage agreement and a mutual termination of the brokerage agreement. And in the unilateral one, it specifically says that by terminating the representation portion, it does not necessarily terminate compensation for commission. So in other words, you can be terminated for representation, but that doesn't necessarily terminate the compensation. You can be fired for representation, but not compensation. So the firing for compensation or the termination or release for compensation, that would have to be done with a mutual termination of the brokerage agreement. So if you're using the GAR contract forms, there is a difference there. And if you're using the RE contract package, you would just use an amendment and spell out anything. Also, you might, because there is no termination verbiage in the brokerage agreements, you might want to, so there's no fees that are automatic. So other than in the GAR contract for a listing, it does say that marketing fees and withdraw from MLS fees the seller would have to pay. But what you might want to consider is putting in verbiage regarding an early termination fee, because if the buyer or seller agrees to that in advance in the contract, then they know up front, we don't want them to terminate the agreement early, but there would be some compensation for any good and valuable services that you do perform working with them as a buyer. So ultimately, we don't want anybody to fire anybody or to lose the relationship with the buyer or the seller. And I think that really comes down to setting the expectations in a fast market with the buyers regarding, again, what they're seeing on the internet. If they're driving out and driving by, letting them know to contact you so that you can contact the other agent, interacting with new construction, so forth and so on. So just a couple things to keep in mind regarding dealing, especially with buyers in a market where there is extremely low inventory and multiple offers. Any questions for anybody, for me on any of those issues?
I don't have a, are we?
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't have I'm sorry. I don't have a question about what you just said, but I would like to comment that I did hear Clark Howard on WSB telling everyone that now is a really good time to put your house on the market because there is such a shortage of inventory because so many people, because of COVID-19, decided that they were just going to wait. And so you wouldn't have as much competition right now if you go ahead and put your house on the market. So I'm just telling you that Clark Howard said that. And I want to point out about foreclosures. I know that we all of us have people that say, I want to look for a foreclosure and I'm going to be looking for a foreclosure. As an auctioneer, I've been on the courthouse steps when you would think you would have tons and tons of foreclosures and they would be pulled at the last minute. So I'm just saying, just because they're showing that it's a foreclosure, it doesn't mean that the owner of those will not work out something with their lender at the very last minute. So just want to point that out. That's all I had to say.
Awesome. Also, listing agents, you guys, I encourage y'all to also negotiate a backup contract with the backup contingency exhibit because of what I just said, we are having a lot of buyers that are going under contract on multiple houses. That's a typical investor strategy, but usually an investor will buy more than one. We're having public buyers also going under contract with multiple properties and then terminating under due diligence. So you listing agents take backup contracts in case your primary contract terminates.
I had a quick question because of a question I had from one of our agents this morning for Christina about fair housing. Our agent is representing, the landlord, and I know familia status, you can't not rent to someone just because they have children, but what if it is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and this particular landlord is concerned because it's a family with 5 children and they're concerned that it's just too many people in the residence? How do you handle that?
Off the top of my head, I don't know about any case law with that. I'd be concerned that 5 children, 3-bedroom is probably not considered that unreasonable or out of the norm. And so the landlord may be taking a kind of extreme position, and maybe that would be viewed as sort of an excuse to get around the family discrimination. But I can look into it for you because I don't know exactly where that cutoff would be, where it would be a reasonable thing for a landlord to say that's too many people in this residence.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll get back
it was
to
a
you
good
on it.
question. I thought it was a good question because
I'll comment from a broker perspective. That absolutely is a fair housing violation.
That's what I told him.
To make that decision. No question about that. However, there may be a city or county ordinance regarding zoning for that, what is considered multifamily versus single family. But absolutely, that is absolutely not a reason for a landlord, and especially not for an agent. That absolutely is clear-cut a fair housing violation for the landlord to not select a tenant based on that. But I would advise the tenant's agent or the tenant actually to do their own due diligence with the county and city zoning of that area regarding to find out would that be considered multifamily. And then, as Christina said, legally, it might depend on the ages of the children. Are they children? Are they adults? So forth and so on. But yeah, that is not a landlord call by any means, from my broker perspective.
Yeah.
Christina,
I told her that to be on the safe side. That's what I said, that it is, you definitely want to be very careful there, familiar status, yada, yada. But I just was wondering if there was more to that than I knew about, as far as if there were so many children that you were concerned about your property or anything like that. I wasn't sure.
I mean, I don't think it can be that I just am concerned that children will do damage to my property. It has to get back to, like Dana was saying, are you violating maximum occupancy? Are you, are they adult children? What are the ages? So I think there would be other factors to consider, but there would be a limit. You know, don't have to have the old woman living in a shoe with hundreds of children. But I don't think it can be because they're children. It would be number of people,
Right.
not, you know, the fact that they're children or adults, that would be not a reason.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
All right, Karie Smith, let's hear all about the wonderful services that you have to offer for our agents and our clients.
Hey, Dana, thank you. What we offer is Echelon Real Estate Services. I have a real estate license that is in the holding company with Maximum One. So I have that aspect of the business when we are servicing our clients. So we offer listing coordination. We offer contract to close for the agents. We offer, we do a lot of agent branding, like logos, email signatures, building social media business pages, and we comply strictly with the GREC laws and regulations as far as how marketing goes. And we make home books, property flyers, you name it, whatever, you know, agents need for marketing. We also even build websites, can purchase domains to where we can point their domains to an existing site that they have. Really, agent branding is a big thing because a lot of agents are just doing just a normal, you know, email with no signature, and it's really trying to get your face out there and brand yourself. So we offer those services as well. So we're just versatile, you know, multifaceted company that offers complete agent support. So whether it's listing coordination, contract to closing, it's all a la carte. So it's really just catered to whatever the agents need. So, and we can work a price list considering what they have need of. So we have two different tiers of listing coordination and contract to close. However, like social media marketing and agent branding and stuff like that, that is strictly a la carte, and we just kind of cater it to the agent. So there's really not a whole lot that we don't do at this point. So we're enjoying working with all the agents there at Maximum One. They've been terrific.
Awesome.
I'd like to point out, she did a listing book for me, and my client liked it so much that the people that bought the house wanted to know if they could keep it. So I said, sure. So she did a beautiful job on my listing book.
Thanks, Karlene. Also, I also make closing gifts, which is the Lazy Susans. There's one in the office there in the Woodstock office. So those are, I think they're like almost 18-inch round, and so they're personalized. So the new buyer's last name or their coordinates of their property, it's all they're all customized. So just whatever design an agent likes, we offer those, and we do a branding on the bottom of those, so that way the agent does get credit, tax credit, when they're doing those closing gifts, instead of it being the $25, you know, limit. As long as it's branded, as Dana, and you probably know this, as long as it's branded, they can get a tax credit for that closing gift, because, you know, a lot of agents want to offer, you know, wonderful gifts to their clients. And, you know, $25 limit seems to be pretty low when you're considering saying how much you appreciate your clients. So we do offer those as well.
So what Karie is talking about, and this would be something you would definitely need to check with your tax preparer, because we are not tax people and cannot give tax advice. But generally speaking, that could be a marketing, that would go under the category of marketing rather than a gift, because the amount that you can deduct from your taxes for a gift is different than the amount you can offset your taxes with for marketing.
Yes.
So that's what Karie's talking about, but please ask your CPA or tax preparer to confirm that tax advice because we cannot give tax advice.
Great. Thank you, Dana, for clarifying that.
Kim, you like her virtual background?
I do. I was saying she looks like Queen Echelon.
Oh, that's a light bulb. That's on our website. So I'm like, you know what? I probably shouldn't have done that, but maybe it works.
It does. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
It's got the halo thing
I'm
behind
glowing.
it. Yes.
Well, I want that
I'm going to bring
too.
you some tea and a scone.
Oh, look, Dana.
Oh, look at there.
That's too cute, Dana.
Oh my
I
goodness.
love it.
You just had that handy, huh?
Yeah,
Right.
of course. Where's yours? Doesn't everybody?
Just
I
happy.
do have one in my upstairs office, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is my wedding tiara, and I wear it every wedding anniversary, regardless of what I'm doing. And the only reason I don't wear my wedding gown is because my husband won't let me. But every anniversary, I would love to wear my wedding gown, but I do wear my wedding tiara, regardless of what I'm doing, where I'm going. So you will see me with that on every wedding anniversary. So yes,
Well, it's just like you're at Disney. You're pretending like you're at Disney because that's what they do at Disney. Like everybody wears their stuff.
Yeah.
So why
Is
not?
it your anniversary?
No, I just have it handy all the time because there might be other times that I wear it around the house when I want, All right, everybody, just a couple other things I want to let you know. We do have several more virtual classes throughout the month. There is a business planning class tomorrow, a marketing strategies, license law, home warranty. I'm teaching RE forms the following week, a reverse mortgage class, which is a great class, and that is taught by Jeannie McGee of Fairway Mortgage. She specializes in reverse mortgages. Lead generation, ethics, marketing to millennials using social media, ultimate listing, contract dissection, advertising, a ton of virtual classes. You guys, please take advantage of these virtual classes now because you have the ability now from your home to take classes where you otherwise might not be able to go to geographically. I'm starting in July. We're going to have the Georgia Real Estate Academy is going to have a combination of in-branch classrooms and Zoom classrooms. We are still awaiting confirmation from GREC. Right now, my understanding is they will only allow the virtual classes through summer. So this might come to an end. We're not sure what GREC is going to do at this point, but please take advantage of these virtual classes now because based on where you live, work, and play geographically, you may not have the opportunity moving forward to take some of these classes that aren't offered in your geographic location. So check that out. Anything else? You're mute.
There we go.
Well, I'd just like to say before we close, I'd like to say Happy Father's Day to John, and everybody please remember your fathers this coming Sunday.
Thank you,
Just
Karlene.
wanted
That's
to remind y'all about Father's Day.
Yep.
You know, mine died when I was 4. I never got to have a daddy.
That's right. You're such a suck up. I'm just
told her, I said,
only
Mom,
kidding. Okay.
I was telling Kim my father
Teacher's
died
pet,
when I
I
was
know.
4 and I never got to
Karlene
have
was
a
teacher's pet.
Also, just to let you guys know, we are more than likely going to be closed Friday, July 3rd, in honor of Independence Day. I have now heard from all of our affiliated closing attorneys, and all of the attorneys are going to be closed, our affiliated attorneys. So there may be some other real estate attorneys that are open. We're looking at that now. If we're not closed the entire day Friday, we will definitely be closing early. Do any of you guys have any thoughts on that?
I say close.
Yeah.
Yeah, close.
Close. Close all day.
I think Friday's going to be the federal holiday.
Yes.
That's what I think. So, yeah.
Because all the banks, I'm sure, will be closed. I mean, usually they close like that.
For a federal holiday.
for a
there.
federal
Well,
holiday.
I don't know if they're closed. John, you might know. I don't know if they're going to be closed Friday or Saturday. Banks cannot close since the Great Depression. It's illegal for banks to be closed 3 days in a row.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
I actually think I read that they were going to be open on Friday, but
maybe you're
don't
right.
quote me
Yeah.
on that. But I think we decided at our office, the banks can be open, but we're going to be closed.
And Christina, all the affiliated attorneys with Maximum One that I have checked in with are going to be closed. But if the banks are open Friday, I think they might be closed Saturday, proper 4th of July. But they can't be closed both Friday and Saturday. So, all right. All right, Karlene and Kim, I'm going to give it to you to take us out. Thank you, everybody.
You want to pray? Well, I just want to thank everyone for being with us. Usually I call on Howard. Howard's been really, really busy. I don't know if any of you've got to see him on Facebook he had 13 of his grandchildren jumping in a pool one at a time by their ages. So he's been very busy with that and doing some of his flip inventory. So he usually prays us out, and I can pray us out, or John can pray us out. What would you like? John, do you want to pray?
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll let
Happy
John
to do
pray.
it. Okay. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this great nation that we live in, Lord, with so many things in abundance. Lord, I just pray right now that you bless the leaders of our country and of our state and of our House and our Senate. Lord, we pray for wise and godly leadership to take our country through these just amazing times, Lord, and I just thank you for doing that. Lord, I thank you for your angels that protect us and your Holy Spirit that leads us. Lord, I pray a blessing specifically on Maximum One Realty and on every agent there, that they would prosper greatly during this time. Lord, that you would give them inspired ideas on how to market themselves and how to generate new business and how to better serve more people. But I pray the same thing on Hartman Law Firm, Lord, that you would do that for them as well. God, and that your glory would be revealed through us. Lord, I pray the same thing over Echelon, and that their company would have just inspired ideas on how to better serve agents and how to better increase their business also. Lord, I just thank you so much for your grace and your mercy and your amazing love for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 We'll look forward to seeing everybody in August.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you all.
See y'all soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
everybody.
everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.